Hey, how y'all doing? This is Mongo Slade, and today we're going to talk about the final NXT of 2020, the December 30th episode of NXT, which started with Isaiah Swerve Scott and Bronson Reed. Uh, this was actually a pretty solid match. Bronson Reed wins with a splash from the top rope. Uh, I don't see how Swerve was supposed to get some momentum by having him win one match and then just throwing them to Bronson Reed. Like, I'm cool with Bronson Reed winning, but why Swerve? Why not anybody else? Why Swerve? But Swerve was good as usual. I don't know. I think I was strangely protective of Swerve because I really liked him because he's one of the few guys I saw in the independents that I really liked, and I also liked him as Killshot in Lucha Underground. Oh, little sidebar about Lucha Underground. Lucha Underground used to come on El Rey Network, and El Rey Network is now completely gone. At least I believe it's either going to be gone by the 4th, or it's already gone. One of them. But the network itself is now about to be gone. So people were still asking about Lucha Underground earlier in 2020, and now the whole network is about to be gone. So yeah, it's not. Not only is it not happening, it was never going to happen. And if you were a fan of Lucha Underground or you didn't see it, it's actually on Tubi. You can watch it for free, all 4 seasons. It's a great show. I love Lucha Underground. Um, Even though it was kind of over the top, but then wrestling has gotten real over the top, period, though. But the storylines at least were consistent, at least for the first 2 seasons. I can vouch for the first 2 seasons of Lucha Underground. I cannot vouch for season 3 or 4. I refuse to vouch for season 4 for sure. But I really like Swerve. That's my dude, man. And I really want to see him do more in NXT. But Bronson Reed is a bigger dude. It makes sense to invest in the bigger dude. He got a shorter shelf life. So I'm cool, and I'm actually all right. And I don't hold on. I need to stop for a moment because there was something that popped into my head just at that point in time. Uh, they started doing the shaky cameras when he stomps now. Like they're going full Godzilla with Bronson Reed. Like he's got a lizard on his shoulder. You know, he does a stomp in the ring and the camera shakes. I'm like, we really don't need shaky camera. We really don't need that. Okay, like we really don't need any more camera voodoo. No more camera voodoo. All right, they didn't do it for Earthquake or nobody like that. We didn't do it for Yoko. This guy is not as big as they are. He's not even as big as Vader was. We don't need camera voodoo. Let's not. But I did like a lot of the facial expressions going on in this match between both of them, especially Swerve. Swerve's facial expressions, his frustrations with not being able to get this guy down, not being able to keep him down. Kind of trying to be confident, but still kind of. Kind of like, okay, it's a little out of my hands. I thought that was really good stuff. Reed is big, but he works soft. It's visibly soft. Like I've gone back and I've watched a lot of old wrestling. I went back and I watched some WCW too. Watching Vader in his prime, just beat guys up, and that's really what a big guy should be. Big guy should be Vader. Or Bam Bam. These big guys now, they work very, very soft. Like they throw those forearm shivers. It's like they throw forearm shivers and they don't really look that good. Like sometimes they look good, sometimes they don't. Most of the time they don't, if we're being honest. I caught Bronson Reed throwing a forearm shiver in this match. It just looked so weak. It looked like he couldn't crack an egg. I get you don't want to take the guy's fucking head off. I get that. But come on, man. Put some of that weight behind it. You got flabby arms anyway. Come on. I'm going to do all the NXT awards at the end. So Johnny Gargano is coming into the arena and he sees a black cat cross his path. And he starts to freak out like, oh no, black cat's crossing my path. That's bad luck. And I'm like, oh, we're back on that now. We're back to Johnny Gargano doing weird shit. Later on in the show, Johnny Gargano threw the protein powder because Austin Theory said something stupid, and he threw the protein powder and broke a mirror. And he's like, "Oh no, 7 years bad luck." And I'm like, "Oh, Johnny Gargano, he had one good week. which was the Christmas thing. Now he's back to being complete and total full body cringe. Ugh. Johnny Gargano sucks. The second match was Grizzled Young Veterans versus Breezango. This is your I don't know what you would call perennial. Let's call it perennial reminder that I hate Breezango. I do. I want them to break up. I want them to break up tomorrow. I would like for Johnny Curtis to maybe smother Tyler Breeze in his sleep, or for Tyler Breeze to poison Johnny Curtis. I don't have to see them together anymore. Maybe we'll get lucky, and one of them will eventually turn on the other one. They've been a tag team for 3 years. Probably even longer. I think 4 or 5. I think didn't Johnny Curtis come back from injury in 2017, and then they might have been tag team partners even before that. I'm like, oh god, I've run out on Fandango. I'm going to say I hate Fandango every time they show him. I do. I'm tired of Fandango, and I'm very, very disappointed in Tyler Breeze. Tyler Breeze used to be really good. Now he's kind of like, he's kind of like okay. And I think he's just kind of settled in his role. And now he's just kind of like, oh, I saved my job, so don't have to put forth top effort anymore. Because I've watched, in addition to watching some WCW, I've also been watching some Evolve. And he didn't like he was giving full effort in Evolve either. And he was supposed to be one of the top. Well, he wasn't a recurring guy in Evolve. He was, there doing a couple of shots, But he didn't seem to be doing top effort there either. I think he's just kind of chilling. I think he's in chill mode, dog, and it is what it is. But I did like that Johnny Curtis jumped off the scaffold. Usually I don't like stupid spots like that, but it looked like it fit here. Like, because it took Grizzled Young Veterans down. It was a great spot. I like Grizzled Young Veterans as a team. They're very interesting. So I really enjoyed them. Afterwards, Everrise come out making a lot of noise. They're making a lot of noise and yell. They really carrying on. And the referee, like one referee is holding back both of them. And they're being real loud. And Everrise is so great. Like, they great personalities, but I hate them. I hate them so much. So we're gonna talk about the Dusty Cup later. I'll do the Dusty Cup later. I'll talk about that later. Xia Li and Boa have completed their training. Xia Li is now wearing makeup. Boa is now apparently a killing machine. After their training was complete, they were wearing white, kind of like, they had finally purified themselves. The master, I'm guessing it's a female master because she's had long nails. She spread ink from the forehead to the nose on both of them, and then she apparently is a dragon of some kind, of some description, some type of Oni monster. Oni means demon, some type of monster like that. And she breathes smoke into their faces. And it said that they will be re-debuting next week. And I was like, hell yeah. Like, this reminds me a lot of The Hand and the Beast. For those that don't know, The Hand is the secret ninja force, or the secret ninjas. They're the enemies of Daredevil. And the Beast is the mystical creature that the Hand worship. They worship the Beast. The Hand are all zombies. They're ninja zombies. That's what makes them fucking cool. Is that they kill you, and then they resurrect you as a member of the Hand. And you serve the Beast, which is, sometimes it's a literal beast. It's like a demon, right? So maybe if that's what we're talking about here, is that Xia Li and Boa had to be broken down and then resurrected as members of this organization, because they had the symbolic death, right? They were drowned, they were beaten, they were tortured, and they dunked themselves underwater and come back. That is the ritual rebirth. There's a symbolic thing there. I was going to do a video about the symbolism of fire and the symbolism of rebirth. Like wrestling, you don't really get that symbolism. Sometimes you miss it. Symbolism is very important. Like how things change, but rebirth is almost always tunnels of things that have to do with water. So if somebody dunked themselves in water and come back out, they usually come out like the Lake of Rejuvenation from Matt Hardy's gimmicks. That's like literal, right? That's what rebirth is supposed to be. That you especially when you're being born again as a Christian, you go and you get baptized. You know all of your sins are washed away, literally washed as far as water is concerned. That's the theory. They used to call brainwashing the same thing. You would torture somebody, and then you usually like water torture them, like waterboarding them. Water has significance to change. So Xylee and Boa have been changed from basically generic Chinese people to what? I'm really interested in seeing, and we're going to find out on New Year's Eve. So I'm looking forward to that. The next match was Mercedes Martinez beat up some jobber whose name I didn't even catch. She did some pretty cool moves to the girl. Mercedes Martinez is a little slow, but she's methodical. She's physical. She got a mean streak. Of course, she won. I mean, why wouldn't she win? And I just kept thinking to myself, like, Mercedes Martinez looks like the mean auntie who just left the salon because her hair looks really nice. She's gone back to her old theme. Like, I thought they did a new thing with her where she was gonna uh, have a new presentation. But basically, she's got the same presentation she had under the Robert Stone brand, just with better hair. so, so, but she works like a giant now. Like she works physical, big. A lot of high impact moves, not a lot of wrestling stuff. She makes the mean faces. So, and she looks okay. I'm all right with Mercedes Martinez. Hopefully this is something big for her. I know she dodged the bullet on Retribution, or some people think. Match number 4 was Pete Dunne versus Roderick Strong, which is of course good because Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong can't be bad. This was dope. These the two workhorses. They did some really interesting stuff, as of course they tend to do. There was a full Nelson slam on the ring apron, even though it was really weird because it wasn't like anything happened other than Pete Dunne jumped to the ring apron and fell on it. The finish came with Pete Dunne manipulating the fingers of Roderick Strong. Strong, backed away to sell it and then got hit with the bitter end and pinned. Very good, very good match. It, of course, feeds off of their long-running feud, and, this was good. Pete Dunne needed this win after he lost to Kyle O'Reilly. Doesn't really hurt Roderick Strong at all. I'm not sure what his prospects are. Strong has been in NXT for a really long time. I think he wrestled Robert Roode when Robert Roode was there, right? And Roode was there in 2016. And so we're going almost like the 5th year of Roderick Strong being in NXT. I don't think he's ever going up. I think he's pretty much a player coach at this point. I think he's pretty much a player coach at this point. Well, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. He's not going anywhere. I think if any member of Undisputed Era is going up, it's probably going to be Adam Cole. And Roderick Strong is also very small, so he could probably work in NXT forever. So it was a good match. Now we get something that's very, very interesting. We get Finn Balor. Now I have to, spoil the NXT awards for people who care, but Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly actually won Match of the Year. I think that's a tough one, dog, because Walter and Dragunov, like, boy, I don't know about that one, dog. Now maybe I would have a 1A and 1B. I have a different video about that where we'll talk about that. But anyway, Finn Balor said that he didn't want his, but he took Kyle's. So you get the bells, the NXT, the bells or whatever for your NXT award. Finn Balor didn't take his, he took Kyle's. So he took Kyle's and he said, I'll deliver it to him personally. And he was going to the ring to talk to Kyle O'Reilly or whatever, cut this promo, and he ran into Pete Dunne. And I didn't hear what Dunne said, but Balor was basically like, everybody wants to wrestle the champ. Get in line. And he went to the ring. And Balor, at some point, has turned heel. Now, anybody who wants to tell me, okay, Finn Balor he's not a babyface, he's not a heel. It's like, he's a heel now. This idea of him being a tweener, I don't like tweeners, for the record. I think it's stupid. Either you are moral and virtuous or you're not. But in any event, you have Kyle O'Reilly comes to the ring, and uh, Finn Balor says, "I don't need this thing. I don't need this award. I don't need this. You need it. He said, I got the title. I don't need an award to remind me of our match. You broke my jaw." And he doesn't like that. He doesn't like that you broke his jaw. So Kyle O'Reilly comes out and says that, he wants his award. You might not want yours, but I want mine. Because this represents that I belong at the top of NXT. I belong in the main event. This is proof. But he says, as much as I want it, I don't need it. And he says that he doesn't need it because he wants that title. And he says that the title is going to validate him. 15 years he's been scratching and clawing to get to the top. And that title represents, making it to the top. And Finn Balor was stuck on the whole idea of you breaking his jaw. He was like, you broke my jaw in 3 places. I'm going to make you suffer. I'm going to drag you all up and down this canvas. I'm going to ruin you. I'm going to fuck your whole day up because you broke my jaw. So I'm going to get my hands on you. I loved this promo. It felt real. Like Finn Balor came down there, basically took the guy's stuff and was like, come get it. And then told him like the respect and all that shit that we had before is going out of the window because you broke my jaw. Now I'm going to fuck you up because you broke my jaw. Like I beat your ass once, but now I'm really going to hurt you because you fucked me up. Like you really, and you also got that entitlement that Finn Balor kind of has, where he's the prince. So he's kind of like, he shouldn't be in those situations. He should be so much better than everybody else. It's like, what's that? I think it was obviously it didn't come from Iron Man, but if you watched Iron Man 2, you probably saw it where, the villain Whiplash which was terrible, by the way. God. Anyway, he says, if you can make God bleed, people will cease to believe in it. So it's a similar thing here where he put Finn Balor on the shelf, and that kind of fucked with Finn Balor's mental state, where he kind of thought himself so much better than everybody else. And then here comes little old Kyle O'Reilly, who is supposedly Adam Cole's sidekick, breaks his jaw, puts him on the shelf for months. Like that's good shit. That's good shit, bro. That's good shit. Like Finn Balor is always considered a top guy. And now here comes Kyle O'Reilly busting his shit open. And it's like, ooh, maybe Kyle's got something. And you say he got these 3 screws in his jaw that remind him of this match. That's why he don't need that NXT award. So then here comes Scarlett. I think she's speaking like Lithuanian or German or something. And she's like, she doesn't care who's going to be the NXT champion. Ultimately, the title belongs to Karrion Kross because he never lost it. Kross does his usual, it's Doomsday, guys, TikTok. And then over his shoulder, it's like Damian Priest just appears like, boop, hey, how you doing? And Priest turns all the way around, and he's like, this is how you step to somebody like a man. And then, boom, forearm shiver, a real forearm shiver that looks like it hurts. And then the 2 big guys fight. And I think they gave away a little too much, but I liked it anyway. They rumbled, they boom, bam through the barricades. They kept fighting. Somehow they got on top of a speaker, and she was, Kross was about to Doomsday Saito Priest off the top of this speaker, and then Priest reversed it, and they fell through a table, and they were on the ground, and Scarlett was sitting on top of the speaker laughing and, enjoying the view. And I was like, okay, they're giving us a taste of what kind of match these guys are going to have. This is pretty dope. I'm looking forward to that whole shindig. And it makes sense because Kross never lost, but they're not putting him immediately back in the title picture, which tells me Damian Priest is on his way to Raw. Oh boy. Good luck with that one. I've been calling for Damian Priest to go to Raw. I really have. Because I think Vince McMahon would actually use Damian Priest, And I know I shouldn't have that faith at all, but he's tall. And Vince is not going to really fuck up tall guys. He's if you're short, if you're Adam Cole or Roderick Strong or Kyle O'Reilly, you're fucked. I mean, you might as well sell your body to the streets. It's over with when you get to Raw or SmackDown because you're tiny. You're going to be like, I don't know what to do. What am I supposed to do with this small guy? But if you can even bring up somebody with some size, they're at least going to try. And with Damian Priest, he can talk. He sounds natural, good looking guy, and I think he can navigate the field. He probably needs to go to SmackDown if we're being honest, because ethnic people tend to do a lot better on SmackDown historically, and I think Damian Priest is Puerto Rican, and I think that he kind of as we also have like Andrade and all these guys, Angel Garza. I know not all Hispanics are the same. I know that, but they probably want to have an even sort of mix of Hispanics on both brands. Like you have Humberto Carrillo on Raw, you have Angel Garza on Raw, but you have Dominic and Ray on SmackDown. Kalisto is also on SmackDown. So I don't know, but you need more big guys on SmackDown, so you probably need to put him on SmackDown if he's going to go up to the main roster. Because on Raw, you got Braun Strowman, you got Keith Lee, you got Sheamus, you got McIntyre. On SmackDown, you basically just got Roman. Like that's really like the only big guy. And I really could do Roman and Priest. That sounds like fun. Preferably at a bigger event, not at some bullshit episode of SmackDown. Not some B pay-per-view like Roadblock or nothing stupid like that. But it kind of looks like Priest is on getting called up. So I hope you get your conspiracy hats ready. Anyway, then they did something in NXT that was also quite good. Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez. They did a video package for them. And it showed that they were longtime friends. Like they knew each other and were buddies when Rhea Ripley had long hair and she looked normal before she started doing black lipstick and punk rock and all that type of stuff. Or metal or whatever the hell white people are into. Like before she started getting into all that, she was friends with Raquel Gonzalez. So it's like when she first came to the Performance Center from Australia, she didn't know anybody. And so she kind of gravitated to Raquel Gonzalez, and they became friends, and they were like sisters. They even got matching tattoos on their pinkies, the R and R, right? And then she says like Raquel has, over time she's changed, and that she's jealous of her success, and Raquel was like, I'm the biggest and baddest woman in NXT, and maybe I've been playing the long game, and I'm not jealous, or yada yada yada. And I just kept saying to myself, where the hell have this been the whole time? This storyline ain't been about them being friends. Like, you dumped this on me at the last minute. You know what I'm saying? Like, this storyline has just kind of been a turf war, essentially. You have the two tall women. One of them is friends with Dakota Kai, who was not mentioned in this thing at all. And, that's what she was basically was Dakota Kai's bodyguard. That's how Raquel Gonzalez was introduced. She wasn't introduced as Rhea Ripley's friend. We didn't even know that they were friends. I had no idea they were fucking friends. But there's like tons of footage of pictures of stuff of them together and video of them together. Why couldn't we have done this so that when they had the first match in October? We could have been showing clips about this. Now I'm glad, long form storytelling. They've been fighting since June. Maybe not June. Maybe September. When the first Raquel Gonzalez, Dakota Kai, and Rhea Ripley stuff started kind of jumping off. I think it might have been September, maybe. But so this kind of been a long running feud, and this is like the first time they really kind of made it personal, where they had personal beef. It was amazing stuff, but I've just kind of been like, where has this been? We could have been telling this story the whole time instead of Doing a fucking tribute show on the other channel too. Like, that's crazy. We bring something so realistic and meaty to this story. Interesting enough, they did a similar thing with the Fight Pit. The Fight Pit gets a vignette, and it looks amazing, sounds amazing. Obviously, the first Fight Pit was dope as fuck. Tommaso Ciampa's like, hey, I gave Timothy Thatcher some credit. He came into my yard on Takeover. Now I'm going to go to his. And Thatcher's like, yep. No pinfalls, submission or knockout, no doors, anything goes. I'm like, yes, sir. Fight Pit number 2. I really wish they'd have moved the Fight Pit to a different show, though. Because I got a feeling it's just going to start NXT. Like, it's going to be the opening match. That's going to fucking suck. It really should build up to that match. And put some real effort into it. So, the next thing we got was Santos Escobar, who they let out the attic, finally. He knocked off the dust, wore a nice suit. He's out there with Legado del Fantasma, looking like a star, like he's supposed to be. And he's out there talking about how much of a good year they had. And, that William Regal is out looking for opponents for his cruiserweight title. And he can search heaven and earth. He's never going to find anybody. Of course, when you say this, almost immediately somebody's coming. And he says that, Regal won't be able to find anyone to challenge him for his cruiserweight title. And then he can go, Lucha, Lucha. I'm like, what is going on here? And it's Gran Metalik and Lince Dorado. And I was like, Lucha House Party. Okay, I like it. Now, and it immediately went the way that I wanted it to go. Lince Dorado was doing the talking because he speaks English. And Gran Metalik does not. So, or at least he doesn't speak any good English. And plus his mask covers up his mouth anyway. So, you have these guys coming out, and Lince Dorado's like, you guys thinking that you own Lucha Libre? He's like, Lucha's for everybody. And then Raul Mendoza, for some reason that set him off. They started yelling at each other in Spanish. I didn't understand that shit at all. They just started yelling at each other in Spanish. And then they just started fighting. And then the referee was like, it's a tag team match. So it ended up being, the 5th match ended up being Lince Dorado and Gran Metalik, a.k.a. Lucha House Party, versus Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde, or Legado del Fantasma. And Gran Metalik is fucking awesome. The end. Exclamation point. He's fucking awesome. He do the flippity-doo shits. But he does lucha. But he's smooth. I think I've praised Gran Metalik before, right? The match with AJ Styles was really good too. They have occasions where they remember, like, oh, Gran Metalik, yeah, he's really good. Throw him out there, let him do flippity-doo stuff. He doesn't do just flippity-doo shit, Like, he works Lucha Libre, which is different from flippity-doo bullshit. Sometimes it's a little bit more meaty than flippity-doo. It's still flippity-doo, for sure, because he's still just, like, flying hurricanranas for no reason. But his stuff looked good. He wasn't botching anything. His stuff was amazing. They went over. Gran Metalik and Lince Dorado actually won. Gran Metalik walked the ropes and did an elbow drop on Raul Mendoza. Then he kind of did the whole, title around the waist, which I haven't seen in a long time. I remember back in the not in the Attitude Era, but in the New Generation era, they used to do that all the time, where the guy would be like belt around the waist all the time, like to signify a title shot. And Escobar was kind of frustrated at first, and he kind of laughed, like, okay, that's what you want? You want to challenge me? All right. I love this. I love all of this. This is great. We get to use Lince Dorado as the voice. We get to use Gran Metalik as the worker. He's going to be challenging Santos Escobar. They're going to have some really good matches. Of course, I have to ask the question, what the fuck happened to Kurt Stallion? Because he was the number 1 contender on 205 Live. I mean, did the match happen and I didn't know? Or are they basically saying, like, we're gonna scrub that. We're gonna reset that one. We're gonna bring that one back to 0. Because it seems like that's where they were going with Jake Atlas and Isaiah Swerve Scott. That's where they were going with what was it, August Gray. That's where they were going with Ashanti the Adonis. That's where they were going with Kurt Stallion. All of these guys were supposed to be challenging Santos Escobar at one point, and then all of them just ended up in the attic. They all just ended up in the attic in the same black bag, tied up with a knot, thrown in the fucking attic. Start and stop pushes. WWE just will not stop doing it. It's not even just a Raw and SmackDown thing. It is now an NXT thing. I will never get over that they pushed Ashanti Theodonis and then he vanished. I mean, maybe he got injured. I don't know. It's entirely possible, I guess. But, I'm glad that Lucha House Party is being used. I like these guys. Lince Dorado is good. He sounds a lot like Chavo. So for some reason, he sounds a lot like Caminad. He sounds a lot like Chavo Guerrero. He's going to be the voice of Grand Metalik. I love that. That's great. Fantastic stuff. And he can also work too. So that's pretty cool. Now, I hope they become NXT guys. And it's not just, they're going to be chasing the 24/7 title on Raw. And then trying to look like, world beaters on NXT. If they're going to say, okay, we're just going to send these two guys to NXT, that would be great. That would be great. You don't have to explain it to me. Or you could say, similar to the women's tag team title, the Cruiserweight Championship can travel. Now, if you were to say that, you add that rule, that the Cruiserweight Champion can travel to any brand because there's Cruiserweights on all three brands, that would be cool. That would be fine. But I like the idea of Cruiserweights being able to, instead of the champion traveling, maybe the contenders can travel. Maybe, you have Kalisto on SmackDown. He can jump to NXT if he's going to challenge for the Cruiserweight title or work in the Cruiserweight division. That could be awesome too. Utilize the Cruiserweight division. You have it. You have all these guys. There's a number, like Chad Gable is a Cruiserweight. Utilize these guys. Roderick Strong is a Cruiserweight. Right? Utilize these guys, man. You got all this talent. Utilize it. I don't like the name Lucha House Party. I want them to get rid of that. Like, they need to Viking experience that shit. Now, I know that the Lucha Dragons was not Lince Dorado, but Sin Cara and I was about to say Mystico. Sin Cara and Kalisto. They were the NXT Tag Team Champions as the Lucha Dragons. Maybe we should steal that and call them the Lucha Dragons. That's like LAX. Like, nobody cares if they changed LAX except people who really loved Homicide. Like, people who are big fans of Homicide will never accept that Santana and Ortiz were LAX. They were. And they were actually very good as LAX. So maybe we can just be like, oh, these guys are the new Lucha Dragons. We're just going to call them Lucha Dragons, not the new Lucha Dragons. But they have a double reason to be there. We'll talk about that later, though. So the main event of the show was Leon Ruff versus Johnny Gargano for the North American Championship. Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell, and Austin Theory were at ringside. Leon Ruff was by himself. And, Leon Ruff is very good. He's very good. Boy is very agile. He's cat-like, almost. He also is a very good, likable babyface. Like, everything with him, he knows how to work his style. And he knows how to work that underdog style. Where, everything's fast-paced with him. Even though he's, I think he might be taller than Johnny Gargano, but he's skinnier. He's a little bit more equal with Johnny than he would be with bigger people. But he kind of wrestles with a sense of urgency. He also seems to have, he uses his agility. Like when he was escaping Johnny Gargano and he's like jumping from the stairs to the cage and he's jumping off the cage to the ring apron. And Johnny's kind of just having a hard time keeping up, because the guy is just, he's so fast. And I love that about, Leon Ruff, is they actually utilize, it's like Kofi really kind of uses his speed and his agility and stuff like in the Royal Rumble. Occasionally you'll see him do it in a match, but you have Leon Ruff essentially does it in every match where he kind of uses like his agility to bounce around the area and to frustrate his opponents. Unfortunately, he lost this match. I really just wanted him to win. I really would have loved for him just to win the title. But Leon Ruff is a cruiserweight. He can wrestle Santos Escobar too. I don't know what you do with Johnny Gargano now. Now that he's the champion, what do you do? I don't know. But Johnny Gargano wins. All right, so let's go through the NXT awards real quick before we get into the Dusty Classic, which I'll get into last. Let's see. Breakout Star of the Year. They picked Shotzi Blackheart. I like Shotzi Blackheart. I don't like the Howling. I've said that before. The Howling is absolute trash. Tag Team of the Year was the Undisputed Era. In accepting this award, it was essentially the Undisputed Era was Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. They said that Adam Cole and Roderick Strong will represent the Undisputed Era in the Dusty Cup, so that's pretty cool. The Female Wrestler of the Year was Io Shirai. The Male Wrestler of the Year was Adam Cole. The Match of the Year was Finn Balor versus Adam Cole from NXT TakeOver 31. And the Overall Wrestler of the Year, or they call it the Competitor of the Year, was Io Shirai. And the Future Star of the Year is Austin Theory. And I heard all of the people calling him a pedo without looking at it on Twitter. But, that's weird. At least they're not giving up on Austin Theory. They probably gave up on Velveteen Dream, but they haven't given up on Austin Theory. I think people have kind of backed off Austin Theory a little bit. It's been the Velveteen Dream that's been a big problem. All right, so in 2 weeks, there's going to be the Dusty Classic. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, dog. The last Dusty Classic was an absolute farce. A lot of these Dusty Classics are just teams being thrown together. They're not real teams. But they have smartly, they now have a roster of tag teams. Very quietly, they kind of brought a roster of tag teams. So you've got Grizzled Young Veterans, you've got Everrise, you got Breezango, you got Lucha House Party, you got Legado Fantasma, which is Raul Mendoza and Raheem Wild. You have Imperium. You have that's 6 right there. I think this is an 8-team tournament. So you have Adam Cole and Roderick Strong. That's 7. And I think Lorcan and Birch. I think the tag team champions are in this tournament. I think they were in the tournament last time. But so that's 8 teams right there. So you have 8 tag teams. They're not makeshift either. None of these tag teams are makeshift. Undisputed Era, they're essentially the Freebirds. Or, so any 2 members can be partners, and it's equally valid, even though we know that Red Dragon is like the actual tag team. And they brought Lucha House Party in. That's another tag team. That could be, they're probably not done with them. They're probably going to do another match with Legado Fantasma. And you have other teams. So this Dusty Classic, despite the fact that last year's was absolute basura, it might actually be good this time. Now, they may do something stupid like throw another tag team together, like Leon Ruff and Damian Priest are going to be a tag team in this tournament. Like, that would be heartbreaking. It would be, honestly, quite upsetting if they do something like that, but they prone to do it. Like they did Aleister Black and Aleister Black and Ricochet that one time, and they did, what was it? I think Finn Balor and Adam Cole won one of those Dusty Cups. But it ought to be fun this time around because they have some real tag teams in order to use and work off of. So I'm okay with it. Another thing I wanted to discuss near the end of this episode is that a lot of, I haven't seen too many people talk about it, but I know it might be on some people's mind that NXT had a real episode of NXT full of angles and returns and shocking moments and all this type of stuff. Meanwhile, AEW was doing a tribute episode. I think that some people might want to take that the wrong way. I think that, having your regular programming at the same time it's just inevitable. Like, you can't just expect the world to stop. People are going to continue. There's a lot of, some people didn't want to watch, a sad show, and WWE has been really odd about, trying to keep everyone, how do we say, how to keep everybody up and not wanting to bury people in negative news, or to give people something different when they might be feeling sad. Like, some people might feel sad and didn't want to watch that episode of AEW because it was so sad, or because it was non-canon. So you have to, serve the audience that might be underserved and otherwise. So I'm okay with them having like a regular episode of NXT. And it's not because, well, he didn't work there. It's just basically like, not everybody digs the tribute episodes. Sometimes they're too emotional. Sometimes, people just, sad to say, sometimes people just don't care, or they think that the show doesn't matter because it's a tribute episode. They kind of ignore it. They might not watch it. They might be like, oh, eh. And, you have to serve that audience, So I'm okay with them having a real episode, or a regular episode of NXT. And plus, they're building to New Year's Evil. So they really kind of putting all their eggs in this basket because it's a big pay-per-view level show. And they needed to build the matches for the show. And they did a great job building for all of the main matches on the show. The O'Reilly and Balor, fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff with Fight Pit. Amazing shit with Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez. It's going to be a tremendous show. They needed to get regular programming out there. And I'm not that upset about it, but I know that other people might be. They might be putting some thought into it and say NXT probably did too much on their show to try to take away from the tribute show. And it's like, this was basically a regular episode of NXT. And they didn't really do too much that was over the top. It's not like they brought in fucking Charlotte or, Becky Lynch or something like that, or brought The Rock to the show because, like, we got a chance to win this time. It's like, nah, man. It's like they just had a regular episode of NXT to serve the wrestling audience that likes NXT. Maybe they were, want to watch the AEW tribute show on DVR or something, which is what I did because I like to fast forward through commercials. But, it is, I didn't see it as being tasteless. I didn't see it as being disrespectful. I didn't see it as being a problem. I just hope that they do something on SmackDown, that they didn't do, a lot of, there wasn't a lot of nods to Brody Lee on NXT either, but I do look forward to maybe, something on SmackDown. So let's hope that SmackDown does something. But I didn't see it as being disrespectful or in any way diminishing AEW. I think it's just an opportunity to really sell next week's show, which is going to be a head-to-head pay-per-view level show on both ends, and AEW is bringing in celebrities. So you got to use what time you can, because AEW is bringing in Snoop Dogg, and they're probably going to do all kinds of other stuff on that show. So you got to make sure that your fans are going to be interested in the show that you're going to have next week. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to this channel. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you very much. Happy holidays, and I'll talk to you guys later.